From Neural Newscast, this is Model Behavior, AI-focused news and analysis on the models shaping our world.
I'm Nina Park. Welcome to Model Behavior. This show examines how AI systems are built, deployed, and operated in real professional environments. Today is May 29th, 2026, and we are tracking a major reorganization of the industry's power structure. Anthropic has moved to the front of the pack, not just with new model weights, but with a massive jump in private market valuation and a key talent acquisition that signals a long-term play for model dominance.
I am Thatcher Collins. It has been a busy 24 hours for the San Francisco lab. Between the release of Claude Opus 4.8 and the announcement of a $65 billion funding round, they are clearly trying to distinguish themselves from OpenAI through a narrative of reliability. They are claiming a four-fold improvement in honesty benchmarks, though, as we'll see, Nina, that term has a very specific technical definition in their model cards, focusing on factual calibration rather than just general truthfulness.
Let's start with that release. Yesterday, Anthropic made Opus 4.8 available across its API and web interfaces. The headline figure is that the model is 4 times less likely than Opus 4.7 to let code flaws pass unremarked. This isn't just about finding bugs. It's about the model's willingness to admit when it isn't sure of an answer. In their alignment assessment, they noted that Opus 4.8 reaches new highs in supporting user autonomy and avoiding deceptive behaviors, which has been a major hurdle for enterprise adoption.
Nina, the focus on honesty is interesting because it addresses the persistent issue of model overconfidence. Early testers like Cursor and Cognition are reporting that the model uses tools more cleanly and is less prone to hallucinations in complex coding tasks. On the Terminal Bench 2.1 benchmark for agentic coding, the score rose from 64.3% to 69.2%. It's an incremental gain, but in the context of autonomous agents, that 5% jump can be the difference between a successful deployment and a broken codebase.
While Opus 4.8 is the current flagship, Anthropic also teased what they call the Mythos class models. They describe Mythos as a full capability tier above Opus. In a program called Project Glasswing, Anthropic has been working with partners like Apple and Google to use Mythos for cybersecurity. They've already identified more than 10,000 high or critical severity vulnerabilities in infrastructure software. They are being cautious with the rollout because the model can autonomously find zero-day vulnerabilities, which presents a significant risk profile.
That caution is warranted. If a model can find 0 days and create exploits for them, it's a powerful tool for defense, but a catastrophic one if mismanaged. Anthropic says Mythos requires stronger cyber safeguards before a general release, which they expect in the coming weeks. This seems to be their way of signaling that they have the intelligence lead while maintaining their stance as the safety-first lab. It's a delicate branding balance, Nina, attempting to be the most capable while remaining the most restrained.
That branding is clearly working with investors. Anthropic confirmed today that it raised $65 billion in a Series H round led by Altimeter Capital and Sequoia. This brings their valuation to $965 billion. For context, Thatcher, that overtakes OpenAI's last reported valuation of $852 billion for March. Anthropic is also reporting an annualized revenue run rate of $47 billion, which is a massive jump from the $1 billion they were seeing at the end of 2024, showing incredible commercial acceleration.
The revenue growth is driven by enterprise adoption, but we have to be realistic. Even with $47 billion in revenue, Anthropic, along with OpenAI and SpaceX, is still reportedly losing more money than it makes. This $965 billion valuation is a massive bet on future dominance. We are seeing a consolidation where only 3 players, Anthropic, OpenAI, and Google, can really afford to stay in this specific race. Google has actually invested up to $40 billion in Anthropic, even as they develop their own Gemini systems.
Part of that dominance comes down to the talent war. Earlier this month, Andrej Karpathy, the co-founder of OpenAI and former Tesla Autopilot head, announced he is joining Anthropic as a full-time researcher. He'll be working on pre-training under Nick Joseph. Karpathy could have gone anywhere or stayed at his own startup, Eureka Labs, but he chose to go back to the nuts and bolts of deep learning at Anthropic. It suggests he believes their architectural approach is the most promising path toward general intelligence.
That is a significant coup. Karpathy brings a level of technical credibility that attracts other top-tier researchers to the lab. He noted on social media that the next few years at the frontier of large language models will be especially formative. His focus on speeding up pre-training research suggests that Anthropic is looking for fundamental architectural breakthroughs, not just better product wrappers. It's a move that shifts the center of gravity for the research community, Nina, toward more rigorous internal model development.
But as the tools become more powerful, we're seeing them being weaponized. A new report from WithSecure highlights a threat group called GreyVibe, likely Russian-speaking, that has been active since at least August 2025. They are using ChatGPT and Google Gemini to generate highly realistic phishing lures. These aren't the poorly written emails of 5 years ago. They are using AI to create detailed personas and even WebRTC-based live calls that can capture victim audio and video to bypass identity verification. What stands out in the WithSecure report is the use of AI in the malware development lifecycle itself. They identified custom obfuscators like lookvobs and LOOKVLJS, which researchers believe were developed with LLM assistance to evade standard signature detection. The group has launched several campaigns, including Phantom Mail and Drone Link, targeting Ukrainian government and military entities. It's a hybrid model where they combine the scale of AI with the strategic targeting of a nation-state-aligned actor, creating a dangerous precedent, Nina.
The researchers did note that GreyVibe lacks the operational discipline of a mature nation-state actor. They actually uploaded development samples to public scanning platforms, which is a major error for a sophisticated spy. It suggests they might be a mix of former cybercriminals and state-directed actors who are still refining their tactics. Regardless, Thatcher, it proves that the dual-use nature of models like Gemini and ChatGPT is being actively exploited in conflict zones right now, despite safety guardrails.
It also brings us back to why Anthropic is so focused on Project Glasswing and vulnerability research. If threat actors are using LLMs to sharpen their attacks, the defenders need even more capable models to find the patches first. Nina, we're seeing a landscape where the model isn't just the product, it's the primary battlefield for international security. The pace of offensive and defensive discovery is accelerating in ways that traditional security protocols are struggling to match without automated assistance.
There's also a cultural battlefield in the workforce. We've been seeing a trend in San Francisco where senior engineers are leaving Meta and Google to join 15-person AI startups. Often, they take a 40% pay cut to do so. The motivation seems to be a mix of architectural freedom and the speed of the feedback loop. In a startup, a feature shipped on Tuesday can be in production by Thursday, whereas at a tech giant, Thatcher, it might get lost in a reorganization.
I spoke with several engineers about this migration, Nina. There is a real sense of FOMO in the Bay Area right now. But there's also a significant risk. Many of these engineers are trading liquid public stock for startup equity that they might not fully understand or that may never reach a public offering. At a 15-person company, the roadmap is fluid. If the model you've been integrating for 3 weeks is suddenly outperformed by a new open-source release, your work is effectively erased. Anthropic is trying to scale while keeping that startup energy. They just opened a new office in Milan, their 6th in Europe, and are expanding into Korea. But they're also facing institutional friction. The Trump administration has labeled them a supply chain risk, and the Pentagon has stopped using Claude for certain tasks. Meanwhile, the Vatican just released an encyclical called Magnifica Humanitas that warns against the concentration of AI power in private hands. It's an unusual coalition of critics, Thatcher. The Vatican's manifesto is particularly pointed. Pope Leo XIV called the concentration of data a danger to the common good. It's ironic because Anthropic actually advised the Vatican on AI regulation before this call for more robust oversight. They are trying to lead the conversation on safety, but they are also the very entity the Pope is warning about. A private corporation nearing $1 trillion valuation with unprecedented control over intelligence. It highlights the tension between private innovation and public ethics, Nina.
It's a contradiction that defines the current era of AI. On one hand, you have Opus 4.8 improving reliability for developers and making models more honest. On the other, you have a global debate about whether any one company should hold the keys to models like Mythos that can find zero-day vulnerabilities. Anthropic is betting that by being the most transparent player, they can navigate both the market and the regulatory pressure while sustaining their massive momentum across the industry.
We'll see if that bet holds as OpenAI prepares for its own rumored IPO later this year or early next. For now, the momentum is clearly with the team in San Francisco. Between the Karpathy hire and the Mythos benchmarks, Anthropic is no longer the underdog. They are the benchmark that every other lab is now being measured against. It is going to be a fascinating second half of the year to watch these power dynamics continue to evolve, Nina.
Thank you for listening to Model Behavior, a Neural Newscast editorial segment. You can find more detailed breakdowns and the full transcript for today's episode at mb.neuralnewscast.com. Neural Newscast is AI-assisted, human-reviewed. View our AI transparency policy at neuralnewscast.com.
This has been Model Behavior on Neural Newscast, examining the systems behind the story